Hello there. I have some floral pumpkin DIYs for fall that I can't wait to share with you. I'm Whitney with Crafty Thoughts and Whatnots. So let's jump into our craft room. Okay, first DIY we're going to start with one of these little craft pumpkins. I know my last video I used a big one, so I got back into my stash and I grabbed this little small guy here. Harvest Market craft pumpkins, all it says. I did not pay $9.99 for it, so no worries there. Guaranteed it's probably an after season clearance of some sort. Now, I want to make a floral little arrangement out of this, so I need to cut the top off. This one was not easy. It's almost like, I don't know, carving a real pumpkin. It's just not easy, so I made a hole. I took the apart. Now, we're going to paint this one. I'm going with white, so this is just a white chalk paint. Pick any kind of paint you want. Go with any color you want. For this particular one, this small little guy here, we're going to do a nice little succulent arrangement. So this is just one coat of chalk paint because I am going to distress it with some wax next. So I don't need necessarily 2 coats or 3 coats because you don't need it to be even. We want it to look dirty. We want her to look like she has had a hard life. So it kind of sounds wrong. But anyways, so now I need to fill it. I thought of so many different things to fill this with. Styrofoam, paper, craft paper, shipping paper, stuff like that. So why not fill it with the things we have most of? That would be Dollar Tree bags. Everything that comes home to me in these precious little bags is, yes, and I save bags, so I know I'm not alone there either. So I stuffed her tummy full of Dollar Tree bags. Now, I'm going to take the dark wax I was talking about. Now, this is DIY wax. I get all my DIY IOD products and DIY products and some other goodies from Lori at miltonsdaughter.com. So take a look at the description. There is a link to the waxes I used today in this video, as well as a code for repeat customers. It's a great website. Lots of goodies. So I'm taking this wax. Now here you see I didn't tap it off on the side. So that's a little bit too dark, but with a little bit of coercing and a little bit of talking, because I talk to everything, you can move it around. It's just you have to push down with the brush a little bit harder. It takes a little bit of elbow grease on there, but I figured that instead of going up and down, I'd go horizontal. And that was giving me the look I wanted because the wax was staying on the raised parts of our pumpkin and not going into the creases or the veins or the lines there. Excuse me. Hello, Henry. Welcome. Please welcome my 2 precious wiener dogs today that will be including any types of barking, noises, chewing, digging, and or playtime scratching that will be provided today by Henry and Cosmo. Thank you, boys. And my perfect little angel of Zoe is sleeping like a wonderful girl. So, as you can see, we are going horizontally, and it's giving me the color, and it's giving me the distress that I want. I want the lines of the pumpkin to still kind of show up a little bit brighter. So, back and forth, just kind of working things in. And the brush itself, this is my dark wax brush. As you can tell, the bristles are a little dark. I specifically use these brushes separately. I have my own clear wax brush and a white wax brush, but for the dark wax, this is also usable because the wax stays in the brush. I clean it out, but there's still residual in there, but look at that. That's what I was going for. So there is a front and a back because that splotch I did back there, I worked it around, but we don't need to talk about it. So, God bless you. Now we have sneezy snoofer sounds. Sorry. So, taking my junk bucket of extra little styrofoam pieces, and I'm making a little plug here for the top. And we're going to take, I had a perfect leftover here is a half circle or half styrofoam ball. I'm going to cut it just a little bit thinner, and I'm going to put that on top. So the styrofoam is attached to the styrofoam that we plugged our little hole with. And there's some glue down in there so it kind of sticks to the bags too. So everything melts together and becomes one glorious piece of melted gobbly craftiness. Basically, we MacGyver things, guys. I'm just trying to find a way to fill it and then stick some styrofoam on it. Now, I'm going to also cover the styrofoam now with a little bit of, I almost said hot glue. I'm not using hot glue at the moment. The Spanish moss. I'm not going to hot glue the Spanish moss down because we are going to poke in a lot of little, a lot of little you-knows. Wow, sorry, guys. The words and putting into sentence making isn't happening today. We're going to put in these picks here. Succulent pick. I couldn't think of it. Now, I got this one here at Dollar Tree a while back. And most of the other ones I've gotten before I've been at Michael's. Michael's a little bit was expensive. I haven't bought any for years, but probably been a couple of years. But they were a little expensive side. Dollar Tree had some good ones. These guys I'm pretty impressed with. I'm going to use some white wax on them, by the way, because they're a little bit too dark for me. I wanted a dustier look, so I'm using my DIY white wax, which I don't show you here, why I didn't, but looks the same as the dark wax. But in any event, I use this white wax here just to lighten up our little pick here, and I'll show you comparatively. I really laid it on there too, so you see, I looks much better. Very rusted, very very weathered and dusty and weathered. So I'm using the white wax on all of these. So in any event, I was going to tell you that the Dollar Tree really impressed me when I saw these. So if you ever see them, pick them up, because they're not they're pretty good quality, also pretty heavy too. So I white waxed all of them. Now the wax is not dry. It comes off on my fingers this whole time. And periodically through the rest of this project, I take my wax brush and I go back at this guy like just like this, and I'm just like re-waxing it. It's going to take a few days for that stuff to actually really dry completely, but once it does, it's not coming off, and it makes me happy. So again, this is just a way to distress to make it look dusty and white. And now my extra ones are actual vase filler. I got this. That's the Threshold brand, so that is from Target. Now, since it's vase filler, they don't have any stems here, but there was a hole in the back. So my idea is to make sure, I want to see how deep this hole is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some leftover floral picks that I've had. These are stems that came off of floral flowers that I kept. And yes, the stem fits in there perfect. I was just able to jam it in there a little bit with minimal force and violence. And then get a little bit of hot glue. And so for the rest of them, I think I used all of them but 2, and I think it was a pack of 10. So there's probably 8 succulents in here from this pack. And I took this one, made it a little bit smaller, because I'm going to take that little piece I took off there, and I'm going to cut them into little individual pieces. But basically everything I did here was turning the vase filler back into picks, because basically I couldn't find picks that, well, basically I'm not that I couldn't find them. I didn't go shopping, guys. This is all from my hoard stash of wonderful things that I've been collecting. Like, it's the ring from, like, I'm Gollum and this is the ring, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are my precious. I haven't actually went shopping specifically. These are just succulents that I all had in my stash. So, of all these goodies here, both types, I made all of them into picks, and I'm layering them in here. And what I need to do is, obviously, I poked them in just preliminary, just to see if I liked what they looked like, if it was full enough, if the styrofoam was good enough, if I needed more Spanish moss. You never know. I like to put Spanish moss down first in all of my arrangements. That's just how I do's it, and may have needed to add more. So here is all of the main pieces in, all made into picks, all put in there. And now I'm taking those few pieces that I cut off of, the layers that I cut off of. I think 2 of them, I cut them into layers. Took the bottom layer off and cut those into the petals, and I just placed them throughout individually. Just glued them in just to make it a little bit, just to layer it, I guess you could say. Now, this is baby's breath that I get from Amazon. Really good price. My Amazon store is linked in the description and in the pinned comment below if you want to take a peek at these. So I took these, and I just felt like it needed something else. So the baby's breath itself added that little bit of, I don't know what it is. I mean, you're never going to find baby's breath growing with succulents, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I do what makes me happy. I needed little white flowers, and these made me happy. So these are little plastic flower buds that are on these picks here, and they're perfect for what I needed. So from then, I added one large one. I kind of weaved it in and out of the rest of the picks there. But then what I did for the rest of this is I just poked in these actual smaller pieces. And then I cut even smaller buds off of the rest of it. So I'm just basically cutting the pick into its 3 stems, and then from its 3 stems into the bundles of flowers that I could find, putting a little bit of glue at the end of the bundle, and I'm just kind of nestling it in. And that's going in between places where you can find, you'll know when you get that happy, crafty, squishy feeling. You find its place, and and then you're happy. And I'm telling you, this is what happens to me. I get happy. That's how I know it knows it's home. You look at it, and then literally, I've sat back sometimes and actually clapped. So again, it makes you happy. So I'm just tucking and nestling these things in where they see fit. Where all these places where they're going to look really, really nice. How many more? I think I tucked in the rest of them, but I love how it turned out, and that's all I did. I didn't put any ribbon in here. I felt like it was done. And again, see all that Spanish moss? You see very little of it. So even though Spanish moss does fall off, it's kind of messy. The fallout from this is very, very minimal, especially since I've also I shook. I don't want to say I shook the life out of it because that's horrible. I shook the moss pieces out of it. Anything that was left in there will not come out. I mean, there is no guarantee. You know what I'm saying? It would be my luck that I say, oh, it won't get anywhere. And the first thing you do is you touch it, it falls off. But tell me what you think. I love how this little girl turned out. He's the lamping. Now our second one here, guess what, guys? My Dollar Tree now has a plus section. See my $5 velvet punky and my $3 fabric punky, and it's buffalo check. Yeah. I was very, very, very embarrassing. It was a good thing I went to the store by myself, because anybody with me, I was embarrassing. I was all over this Dollar Tree Plus section. Also, my store had just moved so that their shelves were a little still empty, but man, did I have a ball in there. So I'm going to make a topiary. So these two girls came from a very recent purchase, as in like maybe a few days ago from when I'm actually recording this, but I'm going to make a topiary out of it. So I have a $5, oh, excuse me. Welcome. There's my puppies and their squeakers. So I took the stems out. I'm taking the tag off the fabric one here. And now I'm going to make it a 4-tier. So I'm going to use a couple pumpkins from my stash. Here's an old one I've had from Hobby Lobby from some years. We're going to take the stem off because it's going to be a stacker. And then of course I need to paint this because it does not match. It is shiny and it had a glitter stem on it. And glitter makes my eyes twitch because I dislike it greatly. I mean, I won't tell you exactly how I feel about it because then YouTube would probably demonetize my video. But I dislike glitter. Copiously dislike glitter. Now, I painted it white for a bottom coat just to make sure. And then now I believe this is so I wanted to go with a gray or a slate color. I think this is a mineral chalk paint. It's an older chalk paint I have. So the middle, that third tier is going to be that weird grayish slate color. And now this little guy here, again, I think this came out of a floral pick. This was in my my bucket o' punkies, my bucket o' craft punkies. And I'm just going to take this one and paint this one black. So I didn't have the larger pumpkin, so I bought those at the Dollar Tree. And then I knew I had just a large bucket full of, artificial pumpkins, little styrofoam pumpkins all over the place. So I went in there and just played around and found a stacking that looked pretty. Now, to get the stack together, we took the stems out. I'm going to use this metal rod here. I promise it's not, made from construction. This is actually from a floral stem. I believe it's probably, I think it was a magnolia. I don't know. I've had it. If something that I take apart, my floral stems are very heavy duty like this, I will keep these. I also keep the regular wire ones too, if there's a very thick wire, but this was wrapped with paper and it had a very pretty flower on it. I have had it for so long that I don't know what flower it was, but if this doesn't work, use a wood dowel. Use a wood dowel, or you could even use many different wired stems if you have them. Chopsticks, skewers, you name it. So in this event, I needed something that would be solid to keep it together, because gluing them together, you're going to end up having bending in it. We needed to have solid structure going right down the middle, and that will keep your topiary together. That's only because of the size of the topiary we're making also. If you're making a smaller topiary, you do not probably need this type of support. So, with caution or with your own judgment there, our own crafty judgment. I know, such as myself, most of the time probably shouldn't be left unsupervised, but do as you see fit, and figure out exactly if you need the support. This one is a decent size, and I knew I was going to add all kinds of beautiful things to it, so I needed that support structure. Now, this last one here, I ripped apart the top of it, and I shouldn't have. Now, luckily enough, I was thinking properly. Now, this is the bottom, and see, I just kept pulling. It's like, stop. It's like that stray ribbon or that stray thread on your shirt, and then you're like pulling on it, and then you realize your entire sleeve fell off. You're like, oh, crap, I shouldn't have did that. You guys got any glue? So glued that little piece back on. You don't see it, but now I'm popping this through here. I didn't need to do this. I basically, so learn from me. If you have a skewer or a stick or a dowel longer than your arrangement or your topiary is going to be, set your last pumpkin to the side of it, then use your eyes to judge how long and cut the top off. So technically I did all that to cut around it, and I was like, well, hold on, I need to put the stem back on the top here, which also I forgot to show you guys. I painted the stem that came on that little black pumpkin there. I just painted it like a mixture of the gray or that mineral and the black mixture I had together. I just painted it. See, this is what I'm talking about. Do this first, and then you don't have to worry about ripping up the top of your pumpkin. I successfully covered it. You'll see at the end. But yeah, it did mess it up a little bit. And I could have taken some more paint to it, but I can't be asked to get the paint back out. I have to walk all the way over to get the paint, and then the brush, which is literally within arm's reach. I'm just trying to make it sound horrible, but it's really not. I don't want to. I have to walk all the way over there. Yeah, check it out. I was able to still cut that with regular wire cutters there. It's a pretty heavy-duty piece of wire, but wasn't too heavy, wasn't too bad. So here I'm putting in some glue. Now this also, don't do this just yet, because we tuck in so many florals and greenery and berries and beautiful things that I kind of messed that particular layer up for myself there. I would say glue closer to the skewer or the dowel in the center if you have one. But yeah, that kind of messed up a few things when I was trying to poke in and place our floral arrangements around the outside. And then here's my little stem for the top of it. Again, I didn't show, but I just painted it. It was a brown stem. I painted it grayish, blackish gray thing. Now, here's our structure. And it's pretty solid because of that one little wire rod down the center. So that's yay for saving all of my garbage, all of my junk from all my stems. I love doing that. So now we're going to move on. Now I'm going to show you what I'm going to use. This is some artificial Spanish moss. This is plastic and it's actually not messy at all. Then I have some eucalyptus, some baby's breath. I'm sorry, that's lamb's ear. This is like some pine stems. Those are all from Amazon. And then this here's a leftover from a spring thing from Hobby Lobby. Now, the artificial Spanish moss was a little interesting. It was very long, kind of annoying. I'm not going to lie. It was annoying to work with. So I pulled it off and I cut it into little short stems here, you see. So that one long piece, I was just cutting those pieces off, tucking them in between the pumpkins, and then taking the long pieces of the artificial Spanish moss and wrapping it around just the creases of the pumpkin. I wasn't gluing it in because we are going to still, shimmy and nestle and squeeze all of our other florals, greeneries and stuff in between the pumpkins. So those will have glue on them, and then you got double duty. You don't have to do so much gluing. Now for the top part, I just have like 2 strands of this artificial moss, Spanish moss. I wrapped it around with some wire, kind of like I do ribbons. And you see here, I made like a little tiny, almost like an eye hook out of it. So I just wrapped it around, and I used my fingers. I just twisted it like little. My best thing I could say is like a twisty tie on bread. And then I'm using that, and I'm just kind of secure that in on top to kind of cover up where some of that styrofoam got messed up from poking it through all the way. Now, with the lamb's ear, I'm going to cut this into, the first one I'm just cutting into 2 pieces, 2 larger pieces here, and that's for the base, since those are where our biggest pumpkins are. And I'm just nestling those in right where I see fit. Also, at this point, I still haven't picked the front of the arrangement. Like, even though I make most of these things as centerpieces, there is always a front to something. Like and the artist's interpretation is what counts at the moment. I'm the artist, so for me, I'm going to show you in a second where I choose the actual front of this. But so to even things out, then I put 3 large pieces of the lamb's ear around the base, and then the smaller ones here I cut into smaller pieces of 1 or 2 leaves, and I am just nestling these in between all the pumpkins. The rest of this entire project is just basically putting things, see, and here's my little pine picks. Cut them into pieces and nestle them in between all of the layers of the pumpkin. So it's almost like you're, making a pumpkin centerpiece cake, and it's just fun. This is the parts, like, it's doing one large bow. It's just one big massive bow that makes me happy, because I get to just nestle all these things in here. And every single time I put one of these things in and all the greenery pokes out, and it looks kind of like it's a natural arrangement. It just makes my heart so happy. Makes me so happy. I love it. Look how they nestle together. Now I sped this up a little bit here, because this is literally just the same thing over and over again. Cut it into pieces, stick it between the pumpkins. Cut them into pieces, stick it between the pumpkins. And just keep going until you're happy. Now, I go overboard a lot, but that's my style. My style is overboard. My style is, for some, too much. For me, it's just enough, or sometimes not enough, but now I've moved on to the eucalyptus. For the bottom tier, once again, I left them whole. These are from Amazon, and these were a great price. They're Amazon eucalyptus. They're perfectly little dusty color. They're good for all year too. Summer, Easter, spring, Christmas. You're going to see me use a lot of this eucalyptus, and I already have so far. So this is what you can see here, a side view of the larger piece of eucalyptus. I will end up cutting some of those into just their individual pieces for the top tiers, but you'll see that as we go later on. For right now, I'm doing the bottom. And now this little paper flower deal here, I cut the long pieces off of the large stem, and then I cut them into 2 and 3 buds each. And those I'm nestling along with the glue as I put in some of the eucalyptus in. Now you'll see here, these ones are for the top tiers. I cut them individually, and then I cut the stems off and I put glue right on the base of the leaves. And we're using that to glue that basically to other leaves and the pumpkins in the background. And I did that for the top 2 layers. As we go up in height on the pumpkin centerpiece, on the topiary, you want to do things in a smaller. So your base is your biggest piece, and you kind of try to gradually go up into smaller pieces. If you do too large of, if you put too large of bundles and goodies up towards the top, it'll be top heavy, number 1, it might fall over. And number 2, it's not going to look like a topiary. It's just going to look like an overgrown bush or tree. And, you do have to be careful. Sometimes I was worried, I got to make sure you could still see the pumpkins under here, because the pumpkins weren't like my styrofoam. I need to kind of calm down here, Whitney, calm down. But I love how this turns out. It almost looks like a wedding arrangement to me. See, like wedding pumpkins, which sounds amazing. Like, I got married in October, so I mean, fall is my favorite time of year. So I mean, I'm not mad at wedding pumpkins. How about you guys? What would you think? So doesn't faze me one bit. Greenery and white naturals and those types of things are my go-to. Now look at these berries. I just got these berries. Amazon also. I cannot wait to use. You're going to see them all fall and all Christmas, and you're possibly going to even see them into Easter and spring next year. But I love this, and this is where it starts. I start getting wedding vibes from it. But you tell me, I have this out in my living room now. This girl is in my front room, and I get to see her, and she is beautiful. But look at that. Look at those berries. It's so perfect. It's now, again, this is not traditional fall colors. This isn't like, the browns and the oranges and the yellows. But this is where my normal daily, this is what I can tell you guys my living room looks like daily. I have pumpkins and greenery year round. I might switch out the colors when we actually get to fall or Christmas, but that's what's basically in my home is this particular thing. We got farmhouse with the buffalo check, and we got greenery, and we got punkies, and I couldn't be happier. Now I wasn't going to put any ribbon, but I just grabbed this grosgrain ribbon I have here, and it's a gray color. It's perfect. I'm going to make a small little bow. So I just kind of made like you were going to tie your shoelaces kind of bow. And then instead I just took a piece of wire, same thing as I did before with that artificial Spanish moss. And I am taking a piece of wire, twisting it around the middle, and then taking my needle nose pliers here and making a nice little tight twisty tie on that, because I'm going to use the same piece here after you cut off your excess wire. You have a nice little sharp piece on the back, kind of like a pick. So you can basically turning my bow into a pick, and I'm going to layer it on top of that little piece of moss I put up there to hide that, damage that I did to the styrofoam. Now I'm going to mess with this and fuss with it and play with it and put some more glue in there, but I'm going to move around the Spanish moss so it goes in and out of the loops of the bow. Then instead of dovetailing, when it's a smaller ribbon, I like to just do diagonal, which is my word for diagonal. So I just cut things diagonally. Of course, I have to add a little bit of berries on top, and I layer and I add things to buttons. Buttons would be cute too. Oh my gosh. I had a what is it? I guess that's what we call Freudian slip. I said buttons when I meant to say berries, but buttons would be cute too. So here I layered some berries. I layered an extra piece of that Spanish moss, and then now I'm putting in one of those white flowers. And then here's just literally the little bit of excess berries I had sitting on the table, just tucking those in where I see fit. And look at her. She's so pretty. So that's right here is my front. That's the front of it. That's where I'll face it when I'm looking at it. But look at every side of it. She's so pretty. So gorgeous. Perfect colors too. Hi, Cosmo. My baby. My little wiener dog. Well, he's not little. He's a big weenie boy. Dachshund. I have miniature dachshunds. I got 3 of them. Cosmo's right here. He says hi, guys. Say hi, Cosy. Now, tell me what you think about this, guys, because I'm in love with every piece of it. And Unfortunately, this is not for sale. This one's in my home. This one's for me. But I would love to see if you guys like this and or would want to make something like it. So if you have the ability or you want to, you can share anything you want with me on my Instagram account. That's the best way to get a hold of me. You can message me on Instagram at any time. Now, our last project for the video here is going to be extras, just all extras. This is a little pumpkin. It's a nice mauve pink color. Got it at Michael's years ago. Again, that's definitely not the price I paid for it. So I took the tag off, and what I'm going to do is I'm using it. This pumpkin is solid styrofoam, so this works perfect for me as basically an insert. This is basically our styrofoam piece. So I'm using a craft knife here. At first I use scissors, but a craft knife works better to just cut that thicker plasticky covering off so I can expose more of the styrofoam underneath. So once I get a decent size that I want to use here, you can still poke through that plastic stuff. It just makes it easier. So this is just for convenience. Here's a bucket of extras. I literally had this sitting in a junk pile in my office because this is all stuff that I've used on other projects or other things in the past, but I actually haven't finished them. So I just kind of not finished or used these extras for other, I mean, a couple of them have been for fall wreaths I did 2 years ago. So I thought I would just use these, only extras, no actual bushes, but I do end up bringing something in. So of all these goodies here, we've got some Dollar Tree stuff. We've got some leftover bushes. Most of these were from Hobby Lobby. So I'm just going to layer in what I have. So I know I have 4 leaves here. I'm going to take the leaves out, individually pop them in. Now, I'm not using much glue at the moment, but I do go back, and you'll see me eventually if you remember to peek for it, if I remember to show you. And I glue things in separately. Some of these things I'm gluing as I go, sometimes I'm not. Now, this is a leftover bit of, they're called flocking balls from Dollar Tree, but I realized I am going to have to get some bushes, but these are leftovers too. So I did go to my floral stash, and I got 2 different kinds of like a dusty pink and a deeper mauve daisies. Now I'm going to layer the flocking balls in. Now you can't see these towards the end. I think you see like maybe 1 or 2 of them. But the best part is that these are made out of styrofoam also. So they kind of, where's my happy accident in basically that some of the things when we got to the taller parts of the arrangement, because I cut some of these stems. Some of the stems were already cut because, again, these were extras. Just these were all, lying on the cutting room floor extras. So I was able to use some of those flocking balls as actual styrofoam pieces and inserts. So I put those little fluffy white guys in there. I don't know what those were from. They were from a larger bush. And then I'm going to add in all of the daisies. The daisies I had only planned on just kind of arranging towards the bottom, making them as a filler type thing, and then just kind of tucking them around. And then I realized I only had a couple left of this, only a couple left of that. So I literally shoved it all in there. You can't do that when in any other, you probably can in other instances, but I'm saying you can't do that when you're cooking. It's like, I just have this little bit of salt left over. I'm just going to dump it in there. Yeah, no, don't do that. Or I just have this little bit of hair left. Why don't we just cut this off? Yeah, don't do that either. So this piece of eucalyptus right here was gorgeous. It was like the perfect color. See those pastels towards the end? It's the perfect pink. And all of that was sitting in a little bucket. I'm like, it just kind of called me. It's like, hey, Whitney, make me into a punky. I was like, absolutely. I would love to. Thank you. So I just layered these things together. And with these lighter dusty pink daisies to the left, these are the ones where I ended up going taller. And from here, at some point, I'll show you, I'm going to poke them into those flocking balls from Dollar Tree. And you'll see that there's some things that's what I'm attaching them to, and I'll point out to you. Now, lastly, I've used these the last couple of projects. This was from a couple Halloweens and stuff, but it's also a very pretty muted color. So I had to get my pick machine out because once you cut these off of the wire in the larger piece, they have no wire in them and they're not strong enough to poke into anything. So I have a pick machine. If you don't have a pick machine, you would need to use a bundle of floral tape and possibly any type of skewer, stick, or other plastic stem from a throwaway piece of floral that you've already cut. That's the best way to do that. Pick machine is obviously my absolute favorite thing to use. It makes it so much more fun. And from here, I just layered 3 pieces in. I had no rhyme or reason as to why I chose 3. I just chose 3 of them. And then I just got them into the places I wanted. And here I'm just applying glue to all of the places just to make sure that the ones and the things I've missed and, here and there when I got a little happy and just started shoving things in that I didn't glue, I'm gluing everything in. So she's a solid girl. But what do you think? No ribbon, no other things. I didn't even paint anything on the outside. The pumpkin could have some sort of I don't know, you could use maybe a crackle medium or something on that pumpkin, but or just make it, whitewash it a little bit, or even just dry brush it with some white paint. I would go lighter on this, but I don't know. I don't love this pink. Pink is usually, I tell you, green is my favorite color, but I usually get everything in pink, and I don't know why I do that. But I love this whole set. Tell me if you're a pink person. Do you do odd colors for your holidays? I love pink Christmas trees. I love turquoise ones. Black Christmas trees are gorgeous also with, bright white icicles and stuff. But tell me, do you do off colors for things? So for these 3 pumpkins, these arrangements, they were a little off again. They're not your traditional fall colors, but again, if you are odd like me and you use pumpkins in your decor year-round, this is something that could work for you if you have these colors working in different rooms or in different places. That little succulent arrangement up front, that would look good in an office. And half the time people go, is that a pumpkin? Yeah, it's cute. It just makes me happy. So that's it today. Tell me what you think. Thank you for being with me. I have a coffee page, so if you like my videos or you feel like you've learned something and you want to send some support, you can give me small donations and buy me a cup of coffee. My coffee page the link's in the description below. And then also any DIYs that I have for sale will be listed there too. So please take a look. And with all that said, thank you so much for joining me. You guys are absolutely amazing. You are my fuel, and you make me smile, and you make it so much easier and so worth it to just keep going, because this is so much fun. So thank you so much for joining with me. And like always, I love you more than I could possibly say in words. Many hugs, happy crafting, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye for now.